Mutura, also known as Kenyan sausage, is a delicacy that is made during social gatherings. It's an activity that's full of fun and laughter, and most often than not is accompanied by an alcoholic drink that is either modern or traditional, like the Muratina for the Kikuyus or the Kalobo for the Kaos. So let's see how it's made. These are my ingredients, the ones that I'm showing you. If you want the complete list of these ingredients and the full recipe, I've left the link in the description box down below. Click on it and you will be sorted. So I started preparing my mincemeat by first melting this solidified beef fat in my preheated sufuria. So you might ask me, where did I get this beef fat? I got it after preparing my beef stock. This is the fat that floats on top. What I do is I leave it to cool down and solidify. Then I come and skim it off and store it in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. So I just take as the need arises. And so I cooked my onions until they just turned translucent. I didn't let them acquire any color. You can let them turn brown if you so wish. The next I added my garlic, which I cooked for about a minute, just for it to release the aroma. This was followed by me adding my minced beef. I mixed it in slightly before adding my beef chili cubes. You can add plain beef cube or you can leave out the beef cubes all together. It's not a must. This is totally optional. After which I made sure that I broke up all the clumps that were there. I didn't want my mincemeat to end up with clumps in it. So once I was satisfied that there were no more clumps, I added just enough water to cover it. Some salt to taste and freshly cracked black pepper. Then I covered it and left it to simmer on low heat for 20 minutes until all the water had evaporated, as you can see. And finally I added my green bell pepper, that's the hoho, the spring onions and the dania or coriander, and I didn't cook it anymore. I just mixed everything in together, covered and left it to cool down. Now these are my intestines that I used. I've cleaned them thoroughly. Make sure that you clean them very well. And as you can see, I didn't trim off all the fat. You can trim it all off if you want to. I leave it on for that extra taste because anyway it melts as you grill it on your jiko. You'll see it later on. So the next thing that I did was I started stuffing my intestines. Remember, the mincemeat mixture has already cooled down and it's easier for me to handle when stuffing it into my mutura. So as you keep stuffing your mutura, make sure that you're also pushing down your mincemeat gently. So this can be very tedious and boring if you're alone. So make sure that you have your favorite movie or series handy. And that is why I said at the beginning of this video that this is a highly social activity. It's best done when there's a social gathering taking place. Imagine stuffing this mutura for 100 people. How boring will that be for one particular person? So you need people around you telling jokes, with alcohol flowing, just having fun and laughter, catching up with people whom you've not seen for ages and ages, and before you know it, all the mutura is stuffed, roasted and ready to be eaten. I tied both ends with a sisal string. You can also use toothpicks or banana fiber or whatever it is that makes you comfortable, but just make sure that you secure both ends. Then I cut off the excess sisal string. Now another thing I really have to emphasize is that do not stuff your mutura too tightly. because it will not allow room for expansion. This is important because the next step in the preparation of your mutura is boiling it. When you boil it, it expands. And when it begins to expand and there is no room for expansion, what will happen? It's going to split open. And this is not something that we want. So I boiled my mutura for about an hour before taking it to the next step, which was to grill it on top of my charcoal jiko. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but I have sprinkled some ash on top of my charcoal. This is to reduce the intensity of that heat. Now, red hot charcoal that is flaming is not conducive to grilling your mutura because it's going to burn your mutura so quickly. Mutura needs to roast slow and easy, giving excess fat time to drip out, and also for the contents inside your mutura to warm up, and lastly for your mutura to just brown nicely without having spots that are blistered and blackened. There is nothing as unpalatable as a burnt mutura. So I grilled each side for about 4 to 5 minutes just so that it could acquire this nice golden brown color that you're seeing here. And I served it with ugali and kachumbari. Ugali is a dish that is made out of maize meal. If you're not a fan of ugali, you can also serve your mutura with mokimo. I have a recipe on mokimo. I'll put up the link for you to find it. Now my kachumbari has some avocado, so we call it kachumbaria avocado, or guacamole for those of you who are not in Kenya. And another thing, this might seem strange to those of you who've not grown up in Kenya, ugali is eaten using our hands. We don't use forks and knives to eat it. It's very strange to find someone eating ugali with forks and knives. Anyway, that was just as a by the way. Thank you so much for having joined me on this recipe. Until next time, when we make more Kenyan recipes, keep it jikoni magic. Goodbye.